Call to order the regular meeting of the City Council, September 16th, 2014. Let the record state that all members are present and accounted for. And at this time, the City Council will convene to consider public matters. Those wishing to address the City Council must submit a completed request to speak form to the City Clerk, over to my right, your left, prior to any City Council action. Under the exit sign over there are the forms, so feel free to fill them out on any non-agenda item or agenda item. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Bishop Reed Feist from the Foothill Ranch Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. We'll now pray. Our kind Father in heaven, we come before Thee this evening at this Lake Forest City Council meeting, and we desire to give thanks to Thee for all that we have been blessed with. We're grateful for this beautiful land that we live in and this the freedoms that we enjoy. We're thankful for all those who give so much of their time and service, both in the community and in our country. We're thankful for those who have defended our freedom in the past, which makes our freedom and liberties possible, as well as those who continue to serve and protect at this time. We ask that Thou would bless these great servicemen and women with safety. We also plead with Thee that the heavens might be opened and that this land will receive the rain and moisture that we so desperately need. We pray that Thy Spirit would be here tonight and that it would rest upon those who will speak and make decisions, that the council members will be blessed for their service, that they will be blessed with wisdom and courage, and that as they make decisions that they will do so in the best interests of the city, the community, and the individuals. We're so grateful for living in such a nice area as the city of Lake Forest. We pray that Thou would be with us tonight, and all those things that are done here will be in accordance with Thy will. And we give thanks for these things and ask Thee to continue to pour out Thy blessings upon us, and do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Councilmember Bass.
Will the audience please stand and repeat with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to our presentations tonight. I'll entertain a motion to move presentations.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Council members, cast your votes. That passes unanimously.
Agenda Item 1, proclamation declaring October 5 through 11, 2014 as Fire Prevention Week, submitted by City Clerk.
And do we have anyone from the Fire Authority? We usually do.
I think in light of what they're doing in Silverado Canyon, we probably don't have a battalion chief tonight.
Understood.
We'll excuse them.
Well, first of all, I'll just show the proclamation that we have. And Fire Prevention Week is really meant to help remind each and every one of us that we need to be vigilant in and around our homes. So the first recommendation from OC Fire Authority is that you check your smoke alarms at least once a month. And that's a lot of what this particular week is focused on, but also the vegetation around your homes. Just try to make sure that things stay clear. this weekend I was out at Taste of Lake Forest, and then we also had a park renovation opening. And you know, I mentioned on both occasions, I said I was wearing a full suit and it was 100 degrees outside. And I said, you know, that's kind of the uniform that I feel like the mayor needs to have out in public, so that's my uniform. But we had a lot of brave men and women up in the hills that were wearing a lot heavier and hotter uniforms than I was wearing, and they did a fantastic job for us this weekend and protect not only houses and people, but also pets. To my knowledge, no horses, livestock, any pets or anything like that were lost, and so we should feel very blessed for the wonderful firefighters that we have that did a fantastic job this weekend. So it's really my pleasure to provide this proclamation to them as soon as I see them. So.
Agenda item 2, proclamation declaring September 2014 as World Alzheimer's Awareness Month, submitted by City Clerk.
Great. And I will join you all down at the podium there. Well, maybe Patty and Kathleen, if you'd like to just briefly introduce yourselves and talk about the Alzheimer's Association of Orange County.
Sure. Thank you very much, Your Honor. My name is Patty Mouton. I work for the Alzheimer's Association Orange County chapter, and Alzheimer's disease is the defining healthcare crisis and epidemic of the baby boom generation. Nearly 85,000 people in Orange County are currently afflicted. About 5.5 million people across the United States have Alzheimer's or a related dementia, and every 67 seconds, someone else is diagnosed. So we spend more on Alzheimer's disease than we have on any other illness in human history, yet 1.7% of the Medicare budget goes to Alzheimer's of the NIH budget goes to Alzheimer's research. So we appreciate the acknowledgement and the awareness. We are here to help and serve. We have a wide array of free services. Everything we do for the families we serve is at no cost, and we raise our own money, so we don't take any taxpayers' money, and we write our own grants from private foundations. So we appreciate the acknowledgement, and we appreciate our mayor of Lake Forest going purple with us for Alzheimer's awareness. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Kathleen Scatton. I'm the CFO at the association, and I'm also a resident of Lake Forest. And I want to thank you all for your service to Lake Forest, but I also want to thank you for recognizing the association and the disease that we are working tirelessly, which is getting ahead of us instead of us getting ahead of it. That Lake Forest is a city that I live in, and you're walking right beside me in my walk and my mission. Thank you very much.
Well, and it's been my pleasure to work with you this year with respect to World Alzheimer Awareness Month, and it goes back to, I think, May or June when we did a little photo shoot, and I know there have been a lot of ads supporting the Alzheimer's walks. I'm not sure what the schedules are, but I know
November the 8th in Laguna Niguel.
November the 8th in Laguna Niguel. So, those of you that can, encourage you to go down there and participate. It's something that affects so many of us. I had a grandmother that was affected by it for well over a decade, and so very near and dear to my heart. And my wife's grandmother, fortunately, she's still with us, but it's been a challenge the last few years, and so I really hope that we can continue to find funding to search for cures and medications that will help continue to alleviate it. And it's really my pleasure to present this proclamation to you on behalf of the City of Lake Forest, proclaiming September as World Alzheimer's Awareness Month. So thank you very much for being here.
We appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Grab a picture.
Yes.
Mayor, while you're returning, could I speak? Thank you. At our Senior Citizen Advisory Council, we just had the Alzheimer's to come and give a presentation. and they're going to be, we asked them would they try and come around to all the cities, because there's representative from most of the 34 cities. And so I made sure that my city got on the list that they would come here, so I don't know who they're sending, but they said that that would be something they'd be very happy, because they were giving people things, giving us information on what to do to stay active and what will help and your diet and everything, and can slow it down. It may not be, we don't have a preventative for it, but they told you how to live with it and have a long-lasting life. So thank you so very much.
Mayor Robinson.
Very brief.
I just want to thank you guys for the Alzheimer's walks. I've visited with you and walked and touched them for the last 3 years, and it's such a great thing, and we're hopeful to eventually bring an Alzheimer's walk into your Foothill Ranch, Lake Forest area. So it's on my vision. I would love to have you guys, and so thank you for all you do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. All right. Do we have our student liaison today? I know school just started, so.
And I was unable to confirm his attendance
Okay.
tonight, so
Great.
I'm looking. Joseph, are you? I don't believe he's here.
All right. Okay. Well, then, at this time, we're going to recess for the City Council meeting for the purpose of conducting the successor agency business, which is the blue agenda. It's just a short one tonight, so recess that, and I will call to order the special meeting of the successor agency of the Lake Forest Redevelopment Agency, September 16th, 2014. At this time, members of the public may address the successor agency of the Lake Forest Redevelopment Agency regarding any items within subject matter jurisdiction of the successor agency. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and an overall time limit of 30 minutes for the public comments portion of the agenda. Any person wishing to address the successor agency of the Lake Forest Redevelopment Agency on any matter, whether or not it appears on the agenda, is requested to complete a request to speak form available under the exit sign over there. The completed form is to be submitted to the agency secretary, which would be off to my right, your left. Whenever possible, lengthy testimony should be presented to the successor agency of the Lake Forest Redevelopment Agency in writing, with 8 copies, only pertinent points presented orally. Additionally, a request to register written comments form is available at the agenda public review counter. So have we had any requests from the public?
We've had no requests.
That brings us to the consent calendar, items 1 through 4. Have we
So
had any requests from the public? With
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Council members, any items you'd like to pull? Okay.
moved it.
Support.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to on items 1 through 4 of the consent calendar. Council members, cast your votes. Items pass unanimously. Do we have any comments from our executive director? Assume no.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chair.
Agency members, any comments? Okay. With that, I will adjourn the successor agency of the Lake Forest Redevelopment Agency. So, I don't know if any of you remember, but there was, back in the 80s, there was this guy who did little micro machine cars. He spoke really fast when he'd do the commercials, and sometimes when I'm reading this, I wish that he were here to read it for me. So I will reconvene the City Council to continue regular city business. And back to the public comments portion. At this time, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, and an overall time limit of 30 minutes for the public comments portion of the agenda. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter, whether or not it appears on the agenda, is requested to complete a request to speak form available under the exit sign over there. The completed form is to be submitted to the City Clerk prior to an individual being heard by the City Council. Whenever possible, lengthy testimony should be presented to the City Council in writing with 8 copies and only pertinent points presented orally. Additionally, a request to register written comments form is available at the agenda public review counter. Do we have any requests from the public regarding non-agenda items?
Yes, Andrew O'Connor, followed by Gregory Sprague.
And I think you both have been here before, but when you come to the podium, if you just mention your name again and the city you live in.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Andrew O'Connor from Foothill Ranch, California. I'm a father of a 14-year-old baseball player in the city. I'd like to bring to your attention about Saddleback Pony and Mr. Gil Negrete, president. I have a 6-page report that I handed out to you. Attached is an email communication between myself, Rob Gaylord from the City of Lake Forest, and Gil Negretti, President of Saddleback Pony, on Monday, September 15th, 2014. I'm disappointed that Gil was not supervising field number 2 Sunday at Heroes at 8 a.m. Instead, Gil was at field number 1. Gil would have seen the Irvine Colts doing batting practice inside the bullpen along the right field, as well as hitting to the fence from the right field. This is common etiquette to all baseball managers that you do not use field fences for batting practice. If you go to any City of Irvine field, you'll see signs all over. But when Irvine teams come to our city, it's okay to abuse our fields. Teams do not use bullpens for batting practice, and you certainly don't hit into the fences. This causes damage to the fence and screens. However, Gil Negretti, president of Saddleback Pony, became very defensive when I pointed this out in my email, expecting me to do his job. If you look at pages 3 through 5, we'll show that correspondence is back and forth between me and Rob Gaylord. And let me say, Rod is a real, true gentleman. I've worked with him over 10 years, and I've had good communication with him. And I look forward to working with him in the future. Many parents in the community, in the Lake Forest community, feel Saddleback Pony abuses Heroes baseball fields by allowing teams and players from outside of Lake Forest to use Heroes. Look at the roster of teams on pages 5 through 6. Few are from Lake Forest. The rest are from outside the city. The mailing address for Saddleback Pony is Trabuco Road, Suite 105, Lake Forest, California. I would like the Lake Forest City Council to review if Saddleback Pony is allowed to use Heroes fields based on the team's leagues with players not residents of Lake Forest. And on Sunday, August 31st, I went to the field at 8 o'clock in the morning with my son to do pitching practice, and there was another gentleman there with his son. So I thought that was fine. Come to find out, he is a resident from Garden Grove, California, and he would not allow me to just do 15 minutes of pitching with my son. Because his son plays for OC Smash here in Lake Forest, Gil said, you can use our field anytime you want, even though he lives in Garden Grove. So seems like the flavor coming from Gil and Saddleback Pony is Heroes is their domain. It's their fiefdom. And with the new sports bar coming up, I've heard Gil say himself he's going to take over Heroes and make it a Saddleback Pony field. If that happens, it's very dangerous for the youth of Lake Forest, including my son, who I feel is an aspiring athlete, and he would like to practice only 15 minutes at Heroes on Sundays, but I can't because there's this wall of Saddleback Pony teams, fathers, and players keeping me out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, and I'm sure that the staff will get back to us on that.
Gregory Sprague, followed by Marcia Rudolph.
Good evening. I'm a 28-year resident. My problem that I've seen lately is I feel you're ignoring the streets in my track. I submitted pictures that I gave the clerk. This is just of eagle and peacock. And the way you can, when you fixed the street 7-8 years ago, you resurfaced pheasant, but you never sealed it. So now the streets are breaking up. And if you don't get the little hot tar truck where you throw those little bricks of tar in there with the flame underneath, and then the guy comes along and fills all the fractures in the street, it's going to undermine it. And when the garbage trucks go over the fractures where it's undermined, it'll break the street up worse. And I would like to have some come out and look at it and make me happy, because I'm really an easygoing guy. Thank you.
At least tonight you were.
Well, thank you for your comments. I'm sure the staff will get back to us on that.
Marcia Rudolph, followed by Michael Hollister.
Good evening. Number one thing, there are flyers passed around, and I think there were extras for the public on the red imported fire ant infestation, which we have had on and off for a number of years. When you see red imported, we're talking about an invasive species, and their bites are very difficult, and they're very vicious in the way they act. So you might want to keep an eye on that. At the next meeting, I will have a report relative to the latest count on the West Nile virus. We know we have one confirmed death in Orange County, but I don't know what's been happening in the last week, because it's been about a week plus a couple of days since we've had a report from Vector Control. So at the next meeting, I will have the more updated information. And I think that does it. So thank you very much.
Great, well, thank you.
Michael Hollister, followed by Bob Holtzclaw.
Good evening, all. I'm just fresh from dental surgery, feeling terrible, so I'll just beg your indulgence if I lack a certain degree of lucidity. Perhaps many of you are already involved with my complaint. There was a party I'm a 25-year homeowner here. Party down the street from my house. I called the Orange County Sheriff's Department, public disturbance. They said there's nothing they can do about it. 5 people had called. I asked to speak with their supervisor. Supervisor said, he's a sergeant, a patrol sergeant. He said, indeed, there's nothing we can do about it. With many years in law enforcement, I knew different. I asked to speak with the supervisor, Chief of Police Valentine. I had a written message passed to him, and I made 3 phone calls to him, none of which were ever returned. Ultimately, I just went to internal affairs. I didn't know what else to do. A captain, Orange County Sheriff's Department, called me back and said, if our deputies are telling you there's nothing we can do about public disturbance, they're completely wrong. There are many things we can do about it. I'm very, very pleased with the Sheriff's Department response. And, oh, there goes the Novocaine. Very pleased and thankful for the Sheriff's response. They said there is something we can do. They said it's a training issue. We need to redo training department-wide on how to handle the most common of calls, a public disturbance call, loud noise. Citizen got involved, a citizen, because we cannot rely on those that defend us. We have to cooperate with them, in this case the Sheriff's Department. What a great system we have that allows inclusion and transparency. Thank you to the Sheriff's Department for making changes to, or promising. This was months ago. They said they'd get back to me, and they have not. They promised to make changes. Unfortunately, and here's the rub, when I mounted my case for let's change the way we handle public disturbances, this was a loud mariachi band. Love mariachi music with amplifiers. I'm going to need Novocaine for that as well. It just went on and on and on. Unfortunately, in that process, I received a DVD from the Orange County Sheriff's Department that I did not want, wish I had never gotten, and I beg your assistance in remedying. But it's going to have to be affirmative action, not passive reaction. The DVD contained a 7-hour uninterrupted dash cam video and of an Orange County deputy, 7-hour shift from the time he leaves the station to the time he is en route back to the station. In the 7-hour video, the deputy is parked for 6 hours doing nothing. That is subjective, doing nothing. I invite the sheriff's rebuttal. No, Mr. Hollister, here's what we were doing, because I swear to each and every one of you, sailed around the world twice, I'm familiar with all of the religious deities, I will swear to them as well, that I want happy ending. I have no pound of flesh. I'm not seeking power. This is a nighttime shift. The sheriff's deputy in Lake Forest moves from parking lot to parking lot at speeds of 73 miles an hour, blowing red lights. I care not about that, or I care less about that. I need choose my battles. The deputy moves from...
Don't mean to interrupt, but you have 3 minutes, and 3 minutes are up, so if you could just wrap it up.
I will. It's very difficult to condense this into a commercial break for Grey's Anatomy. I need a little bit more time.
And just recognize all of us have...
Indeed. Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
So,
thank you.
Absolutely.
The deputy moves from parking lot to parking lot. He's parked in a defunct auto mall, Lake Forest Auto Mall, for an hour. It's dark. You can't see him. He's parked behind a few different gas stations. At the end of the night, he's parked with every deputy in Lake Forest, collectively, behind a gas station. 6 hours. All I ask is that I have informed the Sheriff's Department of this. They said, quote, we are looking into it. Months have gone by. When my son was cited at a record shop during school hours. I said, what's up? I did not give him 2 months to reply. It's a simple issue. This isn't Benghazi. I want this to be a matter of public record because it's not going to end here. I have asked for 2 other DVDs of the identical deputy on the identical night 1 week prior and 1 week prior to that. My suspicion, this was not an anomaly, that this is a pattern. The Sheriff's Department, though they willingly gave me the first, says we will not give you those. And I draw no inference. I want you to please invite that on the same night I spent $460 because somebody crawled underneath my home, the car in my home, cut off the catalytic converter. I went to Ace Hardware and bought the chemical to remove graffiti from a sign, a public sign. I will get involved in my community. I've been shot at. I've gone to Afghanistan. I will get involved. Thank you to the Sheriff's Department. For the claim of transparency, I ask that we wrap this 2-month investigation up. Why does it take 2 months? And can we have some explanation for why deputies are parked 3 abreast for 6 hours behind a gas station? They sent me the DVD. I never asked for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bob Holtzclaw?
Well, my name is Bob Holtzclaw, a resident of Lake Forest, and I just want to let everybody know that on September 23rd, on Tuesday, we're going to have Meet the Candidates night at the Lake Forest 2 Clubhouse. That's going to start at 6:30 p.m., and the address there is 24752 Toledo Way, and that's on the corner of Lake Forest Drive and Toledo. What we're going to have is, it's going to be a moderator, and he's going to just ask questions, and then we're going to open it up to the audience. Here's how it's going to go. It's each candidate will have 2 minutes as an opening statement. Unfortunately, you guys only get 2 minutes. I know I got 3. So please don't thank us for being here or anything else. We're trying to get as fast as possible because we've got 8 candidates, for 3 slots. So we're trying to get the information as much as possible and as fast. Each candidate will be asked specific responses to the moderator, and the moderator will ask certain questions to start off with. The audience will also have a chance to ask questions from the 8 candidates that will be there. And that'll also be a 2-minute response on that. Each candidate will summarize after the meeting is, after the audience has asked their questions, and hopefully we might have some discussion depending upon time. That's why we're trying to make it as fast as possible, so it's a bullet type of question, bullet type of answer, and hopefully it'll come out right. Everything there is going to be questions that pertain to the city. We designed these questions that there's nothing going to be about, personal problems or anything else or anything like this. It has to be city, and that's also with the audience. We'll be looking at, everybody will have 3x5 cards to turn in, and the questions on there, I will filter through them, and all questions asked of all 8 candidates will be something that has to do with the city. And that's about it. So I hope the audience and I hope everybody else here comes to the Sun and Sail Club on the 23rd at 6:30, and it's my turn for to ask you questions. Okay? Take care and thank you.
Thank you very much.
We've had no further requests.
All right. That will bring us to the consent calendar warrant register, item number 3. All matters listed under the warrant register are considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, the public, or staff request specific items to be removed from the warrant register for separate action. Have we had any requests from the public?
We've had no requests.
Okay. Council members, anything you need to pull?
Move the warrant register.
Second?
Okay. Motion and a second. So council members, cast your votes. Item passed unanimously. That brings us to the consent calendar items, miscellaneous items numbers 4 through 11. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, the public, or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Do we have any requests from the public?
We've had no requests.
No requests. Okay. Council members, any items 4 through 11 that you want to pull?
Item 7.
Item 7 from Councilmember Bass. Seeing no other, I'll entertain a motion on the balance.
Move the consent calendar.
Second?
Okay, so that's moving the consent calendar with exception to item number 7. Council members, cast your votes. Those items pass unanimously.
Agenda item 7, amendment of personnel rules and regulations submitted by Deputy City Manager, Director of Management Services, and removed from the consent calendar by Councilmember Bass.
Councilmember Bass.
Just one item on this. All the changes were fine with me. One thing I noticed on page either 47 of the report or page 129 of the whole agenda packet is a section on jury duty leave. There is no max in which the city will pay for jury duty, which I think maybe we ought to consider. Now, just by way of background, I've been called on jury duty lots of times. I've sat on probably half a dozen juries. I've got another report date in December. And I think that if you're working for a city or county or a state agency, you cannot get the jury duty pay. I think that was a recent, when the state was balancing its budget. But in terms of the limit, number of employees limit it, some don't. I don't think we should limit it to a real short period of time, but something, a month or less, just in case of a real long trial or something. Because, we don't have a whole lot of staff in the city, and recognize that, and it could be quite a deficiency to the overall operations of the city if someone were to be seated on a long trial. Anyway, if we could just have staff look at that, don't need to do it right now, obviously, but just look at it. And with that, I'd move approval.
Not second with comment? Are you asking them to bring it back in the staff report?
In the future, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll second it.
All right. Does that give you enough consensus to? Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item number 7? Seeing none, cast your votes. Item 7 passed unanimously. That brings us to our one discussion item of the evening, item number 12.
Agenda item 12, establishment of parking restrictions on Fallbrook Street and Brookdale Street, submitted by Director of Public Works, City Engineer.
And I assume we have a brief staff report.
We do, from the Director of Public Works.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. The city has received a request for parking relief from a group of residents that live off Cherry Avenue near Tribuco Road. It's, there it is. It should be up on the screen. The request tonight, staff's recommending that you approve a resolution that would establish parking restrictions on Fallbrook and Brookdale Streets. Earlier this year, we received several complaints about overflow parking from the nearby Cedar Glen condominium complex. The complaints included loitering, excessive noise, littering for extended periods of time. That was, in response to those concerns, staff initiated a parking study that included the 2 streets. Staff has visited the site several times, has confirmed the findings and confirmed that 75% of the available parking is regularly impacted, which meets our criteria to further study the area. Staff next mailed out surveys to the residents. We have a two-third majority needed for consideration. We received a 74% affirmative vote from the residents that wanted permit parking. The area also meets the 1,000 feet of impacted street footage requirements, meets all the requirements per the city's residential parking management policy, which was adopted back in 2004. Staff also met in the field with the residents to better explain how the process works and just answer many of their questions, many of the details of the permit system. Again, the residents confirmed their desire for parking relief. Staff also at that meeting discussed with representatives from Cedar Glen Condominium Complex with the HOA, as well as the adjacent housing tract. The Cedar Glen HOA, really to their credit, has opened an additional 32 extra on-site parking areas. They did this by changing their to an on-site permit parking system and opening up some parking. Most of the new parking is up near the corner, the end of Cherry next to Darren Park, which is, you can tell from the map, the farthest away from Fallbrook and Brookfield. With that being said, despite their best efforts, the parking areas in the complex really remain underutilized, 50% at max, so there's available parking on site right now. We also talked with the representatives from the adjacent housing tract that they felt that any displaced vehicles would park back in the condominium complex in those new parks and not in their tract. And so they weren't concerned at this point in time, but obviously they track that, and if necessary, we'd need to go in and we could look at that track also. So in conclusion, the Fallbrook and Brookdale meet the criteria in the city's permit parking policy. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council approve the proposed resolution to give parking relief to the impacted residents. Doug Anderson, the city's traffic engineering manager, has met with them several times. He's here. I'm obviously available for any questions that you may have also. I believe we probably have a few residents from the area also, and staff's available for any questions you may have.
Great. Before we get into public comment, if there's any questions regarding the staff report itself, we can do that. We just don't want to have any discussion of the item until the public's had a chance to speak. So any questions on the staff report we received? Okay. We'll go to the public.
Sharon Breimer, followed by Henry Weil.
And again, just a reminder to everyone, when you come to the podium, if you could just state your name, city you live in, you'll have 3 minutes. When the red light comes on, your time's up.
Okay, my name is Sharon Breimer, and I live in Cedar Glen Homeowner Association, and good evening, council members and staff. I would like to, and the gentleman did this, in 2012, the city came to us, Cedar Glen, and asked us if we could take some of our 65 guest lot spots and assign them and use them differently to allow owners to come on site to park. We spent about $4,200 going through this process because we are a homeowner association and we had to get a legal opinion of whether or not we could even change our guest spaces to mixed use. So in total, we spent $4,200 to try and accommodate and help our neighbors. No one came up and said, Cedar Glen, we will help you defer those expenses. The city didn't do it, and the neighbors didn't do it. We went ahead and changed it, and we opened up 35 spots out of 65 for what we call our permit parking. We have additionally done a lot of education with our homeowners, and we've sent educational campaigns, we've sent flyers, newsletters, and done a lot of education on trying to get relief for our neighbors. I do understand the need to get relief from them. However, since the owners have decided to take on Fallbrook and that other street, restrictive mechanism to clear their public streets, as oh my God, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
As a ratepayer, I am not speaking on behalf of Cedar Glen Homeowner Association now. I don't have the authority because our board has not had the opportunity to discuss this particular topic in this form, and we haven't had an opportunity to do any discussion with our residents. As a ratepayer, I'm opposed to the city spending any money on this permit process. We went out of our way to accommodate your request, and we didn't have anybody come to us and say, we'll help pay for those expenses that you had to incur. Another thing that could be done is open the Darren Park parking spaces to overnight parking. You could do that. There's a very long, long, long red curb. You could reduce the length of that red curb, and Mr. Anderson and I have already discussed that, so we're in opposition to what that curb's for. You could put 2 or 3 more cars where that red curb is. If you open the Darren parking spaces to parking, that would give another 5 to 6 parking spots. Our lots 1 and 3 are full every night with permits. Our lot number 2, which is the Darren Park lot, is not fully utilized, and we do acknowledge that, and we are working to get our owners to use those spaces, but we can't force them to use the spaces. We have 38 permits that we've given. We had 35 spaces that were made available. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you very much.
Henry Weil.
Good evening. My name is Henry Weil. I live in Irvine, and I own a condo unit in Cedar Glen. I'm also a member of the Board of Directors of the Cedar Glen Homeowner Association, as is Sharon Binder, who just talked. I am the most recently seated member of that Board of Directors, and so I am not familiar with all of the details of the history of this problem. But I believe that we should attempt to help our neighbors as much as possible, and what I would like to do is ask the city for some time, because I want to get together with the representatives of the other homeowner associations there that are impacted and see if we can come up with some solutions that will be tolerable to both our associations. And then I will bring those back to the board of Cedar Glen to see if we can work something out. And I would ask the city council to give us some time to go through that process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
We've had no additional requests.
Okay. Bring it back to the council for discussion. Councilwoman McCullough.
Before discussion, I'd like to hear from our staff.
Sure. Do you want to ask something specific from the staff?
No, I'd just like them to fill in some of the gaps that we're missing.
Okay. Would you care to respond to any of the public comments that have been made thus far?
I would just say that Cedar Glen has been very helpful. We have worked with them on this and on other issues. We had a street sweeping restrictions that we put in, I think it was last year sometime in that area. So they have been very helpful. They have worked extensively with their residents, so I think we have had a good history of them doing their best in their efforts, more than I would have expected, certainly more than we've had from other apartment complexes and stuff in the past that we've had to work with, or got to work with. I believe that the residents, just looking at the map, you can see people are going to park where it's most convenient, and that's really a function of what's happening out there. There's parking spots out there on the site available already, so open up more sites next to them may or may not, be that beneficial. But the residents have asked for it. 74% of them, excuse me, have asked for it, and that would provide immediate relief, and then we can work through. And if the issue went away, we could always take away the restrictions.
Could you address the red curve?
All the red curb that's out there is for vision zone. So we've had complaints in the past, and anytime we go out there and look at that, it's really a safety issue. So we've tried to maximize our parking as much as we can, given safety that's a higher priority.
And does that also affect the first responders, the red? Their vision.
It
trucks?
can. Certainly, safety affects everyone who's out there and driving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilman Voights?
Yes. Director Wheeler, if you look at the Cedar Glen project there, it mentioned that there was a Lot 1 and a Lot 2, and there's a one by Darren Park, which is Lot 3. And they alluded to that one not being fully utilized, which is that parking location for... So that is the parking for the Cedar Glen parking lot along the back there?
Correct. It's literally parallel with the Darren Park parking lot.
It goes all the way to El Toro Road from Cherry?
No.
That's the parking lot.
The park. Well, I'm not talking about the park. I'm talking about the...
This is their property here where they're talking about that.
And that's the parking lot that's not fully being utilized at this time?
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct.
So they still have capacity for more parking on their own property?
Correct. It's more a location of an issue of convenience.
Okay. So they have the ability to. That's all.
They have the ability to do it, and they've certainly have done yeoman's effort at communicating with their residents and doing the permit parking, and they really have done a good job with that part of it.
Nothing further.
Councilman Bass?
Question for staff. So if this is approved, what's the anticipated impact, if any, on like where Eloise and those other streets are on that other track?
Again, from looking at it and talking with one of the residents in that track, we don't believe that people would move there. We don't know exactly where they live, but if just looking at it, if you were to go back off Eloise, it's right next to you. You'd be walking past that open parking lot, and so our hope is that they would utilize the on-site parking that's, I believe, closer, and for the most part, it's going to be closer for them. And if not, the resident just said, well, then we'd come back to the city and we'd request you to look at any parking impacts that may be. There's also parking on Cherry Avenue, which is fully utilized right now also. I suspect that as a resident coming in off Cherry, once you get into the habit, it's really easy to just make your first right and park instead of going all the way down to see if there's closer parking. So I think driving them back into their property, they'd make that choice, and we certainly hope they would.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Mayor Robinson, one more question. The red curb that was alluded to earlier by the residents, where is that? Is that on Cherry Avenue?
I'll defer to...
And how many feet of red curb do they have there?
They have 125 feet.
125 feet?
It's from this street right here, it's 125 feet.
And so that is for visibility for people pulling out of the track, the housing track?
That's correct. The county site gets the standard is 150 feet curb return. Curb return is 25 feet plus 125.
What's the speed limit on Cherry right there?
25 miles.
25 miles an hour, and you need 125 feet?
That's correct. That's a county standard for site distance on a collector type roadway of that nature.
All right. With respect to the 74%, what was the other 26? Do we have some serious vocal opposition? Was it just kind of passive opposition? Was it just people that didn't vote? I know it's in the staff report. But
we had 2 no votes, and we had 2 that didn't respond, which is counted in our survey as counted as a no vote.
Okay. And with the no votes, was there any vocal opposition or just a checkbox on a response? Okay. Okay. From my perspective, somebody deciding to put an added restriction on their own street is kind of taking it to a new level. because that just shows that they have a problem. They really want it addressed. Recognize that it's going to cause some challenges for them when guests come and things like that. So to be able to get to this point where they're coming to the city asking us to do this, I think that they feel like there's a pretty significant problem. So from that perspective, I think this makes sense. Now, you alluded to the fact that this would be pretty easy to repeal if everyone thought everything was fine. So maybe we could just walk us through real briefly the process for enforcement, first of all. So what are they seeing? I know we've got it spelled out in our code, but just for everyone who's here that this is an important issue for, how does that process work as far as warnings, fines, all those sorts of things? And then also just explaining the process for repealing the ordinance if that were to come about.
We've never had the repeal, to my
we haven't.
knowledge.
Sure we haven't, but,
once people get it, they generally don't go back.
I guess theoretically, if you had some significant turnover in home
Absolutely.
ownership on a street,
You could
then
repeal it
they might
as
have a
easily
different-
as you could put it back in.
So okay,
Sorry.
well that explains that. So
As far as the enforcement process, after the council, if they do approve this process here, the city staff puts together a work order to install the signs, to install the signs, the city county which is our maintenance provider. They'll install the signs. After that, we notify the sheriff department the signs are up. That gives them a signal that it's enforceable. Prior to that happening, staff will meet on site with the residents. We plan to set up a kiosk, a couple late afternoons where they can come down and get the permits right there, instead of having them come to City Hall and inconvenience them. As we go out there, we can issue the permits on site. We have them all ready, they'll have those, and it's a little hanger they put on their mirror when they park on the street. If they have gas or anything like that, we'll issue a gas permit for residents. If they need additional permits, email, fax, call the city, and we make those available. Send those back to them via email. Press anything they need, David or signed by a representative of the city. They put that in the windshield, and the officers drive by and see that. No citations are issued.
okay, and then as far as the citation process, I mean, once this is put in place, do we start citing parkers from the time the sign goes up, or is there a certain process? So, yeah.
Normally, there's a warning period where we're educating the public and issuing warnings for a couple of weeks before we start enforcing.
Okay.
And writing the actual citations.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Again, I think that we try to make the process as simplistic as possible, as Mr. Anderson was explaining. Trying to email the permits, print them out, as you need them for guests and things like that. But it's still an added step, and that just shows me that the homeowners in this area have probably become pretty frustrated. And this is one way that we can help alleviate a problem. It follows our own ordinance that's been in place for nearly a decade. So based on that, I'll make a motion that we approve approve item 12 as it's written.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the item? Okay, seeing none, council members cast your votes on item 12. Item passed unanimously. And that brings us to the city manager's report. City manager is actually traveling on business. He's on the East Coast, receiving an award for 40 years of public service at the International City Managers Association meeting. So we've been very blessed to have a sharp mind who's done a great job for us for many, many years, and so he's getting some well-due respect and appreciation at that association meeting. So in light of his absence, our acting city manager, Dave Belmer, do you have a city manager's report, or are you going to pass?
As the city manager would say, nothing further this evening, Mayor.
It's like he's still here. Okay, that brings to Councilmember Bass.
couple of quick items. One is on Bake Parkway, as you approach Tribuco, this is traveling north. There's a right turn lane. It used to be right only, now it's right or go straight. Would like staff to look at returning that back to a right only turn. My observation is that virtually all the people want to turn right on that, but you get a couple who really are just trying to, in my view, get to the front of the line, and then they speed ahead as soon as it's green light, because not long after that it reverts from 3 lanes to 2 lanes on Bake. So if could get consensus to look at as part of the traffic study and whatnot.
Okay. I think you have consensus from Councilman McCullough.
Thank you. And the other is an AB 1234 report. I attended the League of California Cities annual conference September 3 through 5 in Los Angeles. Excellent conference. Attended a number of sessions, and it was very beneficial to be there. Also was the voting delegate representing the city. With that, concludes my comments. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember McCullough.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say that the staff report, sorry I let it slip past me, on the block grant, that was a very, very excellent report. Could you please pass that on? And giving my 1234 report, I too attended the League of California Cities, attended many of the conference things, but the heat was terrible. I got heat exhaustion up there, and a lot of walking. But it was a very good conference. I brought back some things for the staff, as always, some things you can look into. Also, I had to leave abruptly as quickly as possible at last meeting because I had to get up to get my room. But so I don't remember if I told you about the 2020 Commission. We are doing some new things on it, and we're going to start moving around, and we're going to have a time here at our city, and hopefully the chief can make our resource officer available, because there are some people that do not have resource officers on the 2020 Commission, and that's the Commission to End Homelessness by the year 2020 in Orange County. They want to kind of pick his brain because they're considering starting some resource officers themselves. So as soon as I can get a date, they're going to probably have it right there at our library, the Foothill Library, because their room is bigger. And as soon as I get the dates, I'll give you the dates, and staff can pass it around themselves, and we can make that happen. They're asking all the commissioners to have it in their city so it can move around. And any homeless liaison or anything, would we please invite them. The Fire Authority, as you know, we've been having a lot of extra meetings because we're still in negotiations with the union, but also we're looking for a new fire chief. And that's all I can tell you public. The rest is closed session. HCD housing, in fact, I talked to our block grant consultant, and they now have the confirmation monies will be being cut, but we're fortunate that here in Orange County we didn't get our monies cut as much. In fact, the federal government has actually used the Housing Authority as a model and sent Karen Roper to other states to even speak for them and show them different things. So we're doing pretty good on that. We had some extra VASH vouchers come to us. Those are the vouchers that are set aside just for veterans. And it's not a lot of cities that work with, a lot of counties rather, that work with it, but we do. And we had about 58 extra ones come because we did such an excellent job last time. So we are still staying ahead of most of the counties in our excellency on that. And I did get appointed back to the chair position for the Housing Authority for Orange County. The League of California Cities, they did have a session, and the SCAG had a session also on mobility, and both of them has folded in bikes are the thing that's getting a lot of focus and some money thrown at it this year and going on into next year. with the mobility, I wasn't able to attend the mobility. I couldn't get out of Los Angeles early enough to get down to Disneyland. But at the lake, they are also folded in. As you know, we have to do the mobility study for all our transportation. It's put into our transportation now on the state and on the regional level. So, of course, the counties will have to comply. Mental health, we are just about out of our money for assisting in affordable housing now. We're not taking on any new projects, but we have started something we use some of our money to expand folding in families, and not only our school program we got back up and running when we got our little extra money, but training families and care providers of mental health to help them cope with it and help them to come into some realities and give them skills. And this is all free here in Orange County. Some counties charge, but we're not charging. And giving them skills on how to deal with a child or adult or senior or whomever that has some mental illness, and give them those coping skills. Let me see. RC, where we had one of our former governors at our mobility, and I did not give you get a chance to give you the update on SCAG having the poverty conference. They're going to start having it every year. We voted on that at our last meeting. Senior Citizen Advisory Council, as you heard earlier, they did have the Alzheimer's. They're giving a presentation. They will be coming to our city. Our name is already on the list. I went to a special meeting for ministers and people all over our county. Mayor, if I could have an additional minute, not maybe quite. It was at our Celebrity Soul Food, and it was faith, all the different faiths, and people from all over the county. And what they're calling it, a peace meeting. They're getting it's getting everybody together that is to talk about a relationship and talk time with citizens throughout our county, and the sheriff I had attended, the chief of police from Anaheim, Irvine, and the new chief in Santa Ana, also Rusty Kennedy from Human Relations. And they're just kind of getting started, but we're going to have a larger venue. It was so many people, 20 people had to be out in the other portion. But they will be having another one. When they have the other one, I'll give it to us and we can email. They're asking us to email blast if you've had an incident with officers, or if the officers had an incident with the citizens, that we can start talking to each other to make sure we're more cohesive and working together as a one unit. Also, our shop and dine, it was hot. Everybody should be good all their life so they never go to Hades. I think it was hotter than 80. And the mayor was walking around with his suit on, and everybody was sweating watching him. He didn't have one drop of sweat on him. He was nice and cool and looking good. But it was fabulous. We had more than ever, and we need to move it to a cooler day. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Councilmember Voights?
Yeah, I too attended the California League of Cities in Los Angeles, and had some great breakout sessions, and always learn a little bit there. It's a great event. I attended our shop and dine this last Sunday up in Foothill Ranch. As Kathy McCullough, Councilwoman McCullough said, it was hot as Hades out there. It was over 110 degrees up there on the parking lot, and it was actually too hot. I like the staff, and maybe let's talk about it in the future with our Lake Forest Chamber and the rest of the staff. Maybe moving that off until 3 to 6 or 3 to 7, 4 to 7, because this is the third year in a row it's been up and over 100 degrees. This is by far the hottest it's ever been. And I'm not a guy that gets really overheated easily, but it was bloody hot out there. I think my wheelchair tires were melting on the pavement out there. And so I want to thank the Lake Forest Chamber. They did a great job. Thank you, staff, for producing extra canopies and extra seating areas for us. And so it was good for that. And we always have the Polynesia Culturals come and dance for us. So the Polynesia School we have down off Los Lisos, and they look so refreshing up there in their hula skirts and stuff, and and we're all sitting out there in the sun because it's right at the edge, right where the sun ends or starts is where we sit, and they're up in the shade. But it was hotter than Hawaii, so didn't bring out good memories of Hawaii there. But I'd like to know how the Alton Parkway closure is doing. As many of you might know, that they're moving dirt on Alton Parkway, and Alton Parkway is closed down for another such and such. And how long will that be, and how's it going?
October 2nd, it'll open up. They're on schedule right now.
October 2nd. We're looking forward to that. Thank you so much. And then one more thing for Public Works and Traffic, since you're here, Doug. You know, and me driving around to other parts of the county and other cities, as you're getting a thoroughfare going down towards the freeway, sometimes there's signs above the 2 lanes that are going to be on-ramp lanes, or actually painted in the asphalt freeway on-ramp. I think that would help us as we enter the freeway on Lake Forest and on El Toro Road if we had some signs that notify, so at the last minute we don't have people trying to get out of the lane that's an on-ramp and trying to get onto the 30-mile-an-hour El Toro Road. I mean, I've seen accidents there, I've seen close calls there, and I think that please look into that, because I think that might save some fender benders. And
I think you have consensus from Councilwoman McCullough on that, so just to look into.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Nick.
My many thanks to all of you for being here. My special thanks to the staff for the great job they've done, as always. Thank you. Good night.
And I'll just wrap it up here. The Shop and Dine and Taste of Lake Forest were great events. The staff, the Chamber of Commerce, all the businesses that were involved did a fantastic job. We had over 400 businesses participate in Shop and Dine this past week, and I hope that it gave residents an opportunity to try out a restaurant or a business that maybe you'd been wanting to, and this gave you that opportunity. Taste of Lake Forest was great. I also had an opportunity last week to attend the Southern California Association of Governments Transportation Committee. I was appointed to that a few months ago, and we're having some good discussion about regional transportation issues that will be of benefit to not only Lake Forest but all of Southern California. So it's good to be a part of that and be able to share concerns. So I welcome comments from the public to me individually via email, through the staff, whatever, about regional issues that I might be able to help address at that level. And looks like Councilwoman McCullough has asked me just to also announce the 4th annual Orange County Stand Down, September 26th through 28th at the Tustin Army Reserve Center. And it's just an opportunity to bring your kids to the Reserve Center and your families. And there is a volunteer registration form that I guess looking for buddies so designated buddies to volunteer for an all-day shift and be paired with one veteran for the day. So if you're interested in doing that, then I guess you could see Councilwoman McCullough, and possibly the staff will also have some of this information. So thank you for attending tonight. Thank my colleagues for a good meeting, and I will adjourn it. Just before I slam the gavel, those members of the public that did provide some comments to us on non-agenda items, we will be working on those. The staff will be providing us updates, and so we will be looking at them and hopefully get some resolution for you on some of those issues. So thank you very much, and I adjourn the meeting.